Thank you very much indeed. So going to start with, so we're dealing with the non-rabbit small mammals, and obviously always be aware of any presentation titled The Practical Approach, because it means there'll be no science and plenty of pictures. So we can start with sort of species we actually see, and there's a fairly wide range and getting wider. We see marsupials now, so sugar gliders, and that sort of creature. We do see mustelids. Technically now skunks are not mustelids, but them, ferret, and that sort of animal too. And of course we see the three different types of rodents, the myomorphs being the mouse-likes, sciromorphs being squirrel-likes, I think like chipmunks, and also hystricomorphs, which are the generally South American type rodents, guinea pigs, chinchillas, dagus, that type of creature. They named us a hystrix, which is the porcupine, and this is a picture of a porcupine ear, which is suffering from mange. So even these guys do have a fair range of skin diseases. And at the top right here we've got a kinkajou, and certainly the gloves are there for a good reason. They're not all as friendly as they could be. And again, another case of mange. Really what we're illustrating here is that there's a very wide range of species, although within that wide range of species we may see individual diseases, we may see diseases that both have, like mange in both these cases, and you can see there's a very different type of body response, with one forming a typical crusting pruritic type lesion, the other one showing primarily hair loss and some skin erythema with the same type of disease. So this is really can be quite difficult with how much do we have to know about each individual animal and each individual animal's own diseases and how they appear in that. It's such a wide range, it's almost impossible to know. So therefore we really have to be looking at taking a step-by-step approach and being much more working from first principles in the way we approach skin disease in these creatures. The fortunate thing is the dermatological investigation in exotics and small mammals is very similar to what it is in other species too. So just as we do a dermatological investigation in a dog or a cat, so we would do one in a small mammal. Start with taking a history. This can be quite extensive with the derm case, because it can be quite long-standing, and very importantly, it can be changing part way through. We do clinical examination. Always remember that skin signs may be a manifestation, often are a manifestation, of internal disease, and they may be directly linked, or they may be a secondary problem or a consequence of some internal disease. We want to then do a dermatological examination, and it always seems very strange that with skin disease, there's the whole organ which is affected, presented in front of us, so easy to see, it should be so easy to follow through, and yet it's not, because some of these diseases look so similar, it can be so difficult to distinguish. And of course, here we are with dermatological examination, actually looking at where the disease is third on the list of what's most important. After that we go into sample taking, that's where skin disease is fairly easy. And then hopefully we have a diagnosis, and hopefully once we have a diagnosis we move on to therapy, or very often management of an incurable skin disease. Bear in mind that the human medics are often told to go into private dermatology because the patients never die and they never get better either. So let's start with a history. The picture on the right is actually one I was given or lent by Alistair Lorry, who is a practitioner in Scotland. We're not quite sure whether this is a very bald rodent about to receive a dunking in an Aludex bath, or whether it's simply being persuaded to talk and give out more accurate history. The big thing about history taking is it's cheap. This is a big thing with rodent and small mammal medicine. This is a good thing. It provides some major clues about the disease itself and about some of the underlying causes. What do we want to do? We want to know about the signal. We want to know what we're seeing. You know, how old is it? What is it? How long it's been in owner's possession? We hopefully want to know what sort of sex it is, because that can be quite important. Some of the skin diseases we're presented with are actually normal things. So if we have like a hamster who's developing baldness on the flanks, or black spots on those areas, or gerbils with bald spots on their bellies and things, those can really be very frequently be secondary sexual characteristics coming through at puberty. So that's really good to know. We want to know about the husbandry. So, where is it kept in the house? What sort of caging is it in? Substrate's really important skin disease. It can cause irritation and direct effects onto the skin there. Also, of course, what kind of group have we got the animal in? So have we got large groups? Have we had any changes to that group? What other things happen to the other animals? Are they showing skin disease too, or any other disease signs that may be relevant to what's going on? We want to know about the diet, and more than just what the animal's feeding on, we want to know how that's presented. So, for example, getting rubbing on the nose and stuff, and the animal has to put its nose through the bars to get to a feeder or get to a drinker, that may be just a physical rub or a problem like that, and that can be quite important as well. What about recent changes? So, what's in, what's out, what's changed? Has the cage been moved to a different room? Has the animal just been put outside at the end of winter or brought inside at the start of winter? What's going on and how it's kept? Have they got a new batch of hay? Have they got a new batch of food? Are they at the end of a very old batch? Because it could be getting dusty and mouldy and quite cruddy come the end of a bag. Other species there too, are they affected? So not just that same species, but are other species in the house affected by something else going on there? One or two things will jump ship and affect different species. And a very important one is, are the owners affected? Because skin lesions on people can give clues what's on the animal, because some will transfer. There are zoonoses that will present a skin disease in the animal. Importantly as well is that, of course, many of these small mammals are primarily handled and primarily owned by immuno-naive creatures, i.e. children, and they are much more likely to show skin disease than maybe adults would in a similar situation. And it's very important that you get a grip on zoonotic conditions, because if the owners start going down with itching problems or it starts spreading amongst the children, they sometimes get a little upset. So we look for underlying causes, and this is a really, really important thing. So the rodent or the rabbit that is showing with matted fur and showing, often are brought in there, don't forget to look in the mouth, don't forget to check the teeth, because dental change, and here we've got a guinea pig with the hooks going across the tongue, trapping the tongue underneath it, just can't groom properly, and that can be a very big reason why they suddenly get maybe feces caked on the back end, maybe get skin ulcerations, maybe get matted fur, and they're not looking after themselves as much as possible. A very good parasitic condition, myiasis, very common, unfortunately. We've just had our first few cases with the warm weather, and always linked to underlying issues. Now, they may be husbandry issues. They may be the fact that the animal's living in some degree of squalor, and things need cleaning out there. It may also be they simply cannot groom and clean themselves. So we may be looking at abdominal disorders. We may be looking at spinal disorders. We may be looking at dental problems where they can't groom again. Yes, we can remove the maggots. Yes, we can kill off the remainder. Yes, we can do all the things we should do, but that animal will get struck again unless we can sort out the underlying issues. So a lot of these diseases are parasitic. You may be getting an impression already. Parasitic disease is very common in small mammal medicine. So we have to know when we're looking for things how we look for parasites. And there are different techniques available. We can do skin scrapes, we can take acetates from the surface of skin, we can do trichograms, pulling hair and looking at those under a microscope. And which one we do is actually varies with what parasite we're looking for. So here we have a nice fur mite in the picture there. If we do a skin scrape, we are not going to find fur mites. Similarly, we're not going to find Sarcoptes if we do a trichogram. So scrapes for Sarcoptes, we take acetates for surface mites like Cardettiella. We can do trichograms for fur mites. And also importantly for something like Demodex, yeah, we can do deep scrapes, but these are follicular mites, and very often we'll get much further by taking a trichogram. It's a lot less invasive to the animal, it's a lot less painful, and it's often a lot more productive because you're actually getting to the right place. So knowing what sort of things you're looking for means you can take the right samples and get better results. We can also do a cytology, and maybe got an impression over the last few weeks, I do quite like cytology. If we've got an ulcerative lesion, impression smears are really quite useful. Same with scaling disorders. We can get a lot from those. Acetates also very good for scaling disorders, and for anything where we may pick something up off the surface or on the bottom of sellotape. For lumps and things, fine needle aspirates really useful again. Something we can stick things into. Each technique has advantages, each has disadvantages. On the ground, you're taking little snapshots there. But again, you minimize those disadvantages and enhance the advantages if you if you have a differential list, and you can actually